chimney lock. And I'm preparing to light off the lanterns out here in the blacksmith shop because I like to do my testing of anything explosive far enough away from the house that I don't have a problem. The first one I'm going to light is the propane lantern, and it's actually the easiest. Take it from the off position over to where it says pause, leave it set for a couple of seconds to let the gas flow really good, then take it on up to on, and the piezo crystal gets struck by the mechanism on the inside, sends a spark up, and it jumps between the ignition points, lights off the propane in the burner, and away she goes. It's warming up, heating quite well, doing a good job. Then to turn it off, all you do is just turn off the valve. Very simple little mechanism, works quite well. Now the Coleman lantern, on the other hand, takes a little bit more doing. Cap's a little tight on there, my finger's a little sore today. I was doing a lot of filing on the T-nut for the AXA tool post, and so my fingers are a little bit sore. And that's an official funnel for the Coleman lantern. It's nice, but I don't think you need to have the official funnel. You can probably get by with just any old funnel. But it's the one that I have, so it's the one that I'm using. I don't have to fill this lantern to test it, and since filling it full of fuel just basically says the only lantern that you can have the fuel in is this one, unless you go through an involved process to get the fuel out, I'm just going to put enough in there to give it a good test. Now while I'm doing the fueling, I'm going to fuel both of them. They're both cold. And if I'm going to be doing any fueling, I want to do it with everything cold. Once again, a pair of pliers eases up on the sore fingers. Now if you're going to be loading fuel into your Coleman lanterns or into any gasoline operated device, you want to do it away from heat and flames, because gasoline generates fumes. The fumes are heavier than air, can travel around the room, reach an ignition point, and set off an explosion. That's why I'm not doing it in the basement. I don't ever put gasoline operated equipment in the basement that I'm going to light. There's a hot water heater in the basement, there's a furnace in the basement, both of those have a pilot. And both of those are a good source of ignition. So any fumes from stored fuel in the basement can gather, and since they're heavier than air, they'll displace the air at the floor level until they reach the point where the nearest pilot is. As soon as it reaches critical or stoichiometric mixture, fancy word for saying a flammable mixture. As soon as it reaches that level, one or the other will cause an ignition. That is a genuinely bad day. Now the other thing I do is I take the Coleman fuel to another building. There's no point having a half a gallon of Coleman fuel in here if you're going to have a problem. Okay, this is February 28th, by the way. I'm out here working in a t-shirt because it's 56 degrees. For Michigan, that is phenomenal. Okay, I have fuel in the tank. Now I need to release the valve by turning this counterclockwise. And I don't have to take it all the way loose. All I have to do is just take the needle valve up off the seat. And I turn that valve clockwise and close the needle valve seat. Now this is the first attempt at lighting this since I've taken it apart and cleaned it, so it might take a few minutes to get the fuel up into it. Well, that's not good. Yep, got a leak at the bottom. Okay, now try this one. Got air coming out and no fuel. Well, I can see I got a problem. I got a leak on that one. And I have no fuel coming out of this one. At best, it's disappointing. It's Monday, March 14th. I'm out in the blacksmith shop again. It's a bit cooler today than it was on the 22nd of February when it was 56 degrees. Today it's 46 degrees. Love Michigan weather. Well, anyways, I spent a lot of time figuring out why the Coleman lanterns didn't want to light. And I think I've come up with the reasons, and I think I'm going to have a pretty good test fire today. This lantern was full of bugs. Not issues with the system, actual bugs. The intake manifold draws air in from this the area underneath the lantern inside this aluminum collar. Bugs had gotten inside there, and since the bottom of the tube is open, they had climbed up in there and filled the manifold full of little tiny bugs. I didn't take that lantern apart anywhere near as far as I did this one. I had stripped this one completely down. The manifold separated and everything taken apart, cleaned, and it didn't have any bugs in it when I was done. But with that manifold plugged full, the little screens above the mantles had bugs laying on top of them, so the fumes couldn't get out. That meant that the fumes in the air backed up inside the manifold and came out the air intake. That's why I had fumes coming out the bottom of around the aluminum ring. This one, I've determined that I had taken it apart so far that everything was airlocked. It wasn't getting any fuel up into the manifold system. The valve and everything else was dry. So after leaving it set and spit for a while, and finally got gas coming out of the mantles, then it lit off and it seemed to be working fine. So we'll give them a test run. Now, I've already tried these. They do work. If I have any problem with them today, I'm going to probably sit down in a chair and drink something. Turn this counterclockwise to release the check valve. Okay, we've got pressure buildup in it. Well, that's one lit. Let's see if we can get the other one going. Well, that's two. This one's still having problems getting fuel up in through it, but it eventually lights off. When I started working on this one, this little clean out rod was very, very tight. It wouldn't move. I had to disassemble it to clean it and get it so that it would move again. I think somebody in the past decided that they should just twist on it a bit harder to make it work. And they've actually turned it 90 degrees away from where it should be. So they've twisted the shank 90 degrees. This is supposed to work in this position, but I have to have it up here in order for it to light and stay lit. But that's 2 Coleman lanterns going. Yay! It's a lot of work. One of you guys said that the LED lanterns would be better for a shit hit the fan situation. In the case of not taking care of them for 30 years and then finding that they were totally full of junk and had been abused and used poorly and put away wet, yeah, the LEDs probably would be better. You could go out, click them on, they'd light, and they'd work just fine. But I still go back to the thinking that once the LED batteries are dead, I can't make more batteries. Now, in this case, the mantles are pretty tough to make too. I don't think I could make a mantle for this. So there's positives and negatives to both of them. Today's testing has been pretty successful. So far today I've got 2 Coleman lanterns to fire off. When you're working with this stuff, be very, very careful. Leaking fuel can cause all kinds of problems. I'm out here 100 feet away from the house just because I want to be in an area where I know that if I have a problem, I'm going to be able to get away. The building that I'm in is wide open. I can exit the building at any time. If there is something that happens, I can just walk out the door and get away from it. If the building burns, the building burns, and I'm going to be really unhappy about that. But I'm going to be safe, and that's what I want to have you guys be. Be careful. If you have any suggestions for a new video, or questions about today's video or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments below. You know I read them all. And remember, I'm working towards the things that you're asking about, but I don't always get a chance to do everything exactly the way I want to. Thanks for watching. Have a safe day.